You said 108?
Yes, that's correct.
It's the second last page of Exhibit R2.
I got it.
Got it?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. And so you've seen this document before, correct?
Yes, I brought it in.
Okay, and you gave it, and just to clarify, you gave this to Chris Heilgeist when you brought it in.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And this document mentions in the restrictions area, it talks about minimal extended reaching greater than 15 inches or light effort push. Had you ever discussed distance restrictions about where you could reach in terms of numbers of inches or centimeters, some other unit, with anyone at Parkside before this note?
No.
Okay, so this was the first time you discussed distance restrictions in terms of reaching with Parkside. Okay. And so then I believe you testified at some point that Chris Heilgeist and Bob Griesenhaber came with you to the bus and did some measurements.
Yes. And took pictures.
And took some pictures.
Yes, they did.
And so the measurements went from...
I'm sorry, who came and took measurements? Bob? And who else?
And Chris Heilgeist.
They took pictures of you in the bus, in the shuttle bus?
Yes, sitting and with my hands on the wheel and pushing the button, I believe that was.
And this was shortly after you handed in this doctor's statement from March 27th. That's on page 108.
Yes.
And just to clarify, were you asked to drive the golf cart after you gave Chris the doctor's note of March 27th, 2018?
No, I was no longer, I don't think I was doing that at that time.
Okay.
No.
All right, so
that ended when I went back full duty.
okay. Now, when you sat in the bus, did Chris or Bob give you any instructions about how to sit?
They probably did. I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay, so you don't recall what they said. And you recall how you sat?
I sat in a seat and they took pictures. I know they told me to put my hands on the wheel, and then they told me to press for the button. I pressed for the button, and they did some measurements, and we were out there for about almost 10 minutes.
Okay. And the measurements they took, did they take a measurement from your right, I'm probably getting it wrong here, but from your right shoulder to the steering wheel?
I don't remember. They took pictures. I mean, they should have pictures. I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. You don't recall what that was. Okay. Do you recall them taking a measurement from your shoulder to the button that you normally press?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. And did they give you any information about those measurements when they were taking them?
No.
Okay.
They were talking amongst themselves.
Okay. Did you ever have any discussions with Chief Miller about other jobs in the police department, the campus police department, that you could do other than driving a bus?
No, we didn't. discuss any other jobs, but he just had an idea since I was locking down the university. He thought it would be a good idea if they would create me that job so the officers could do turn their attention to other things. So he said that he was going to talk to his boss and see what they said about it. So,
And I'm
So
sorry,
when you
who was
say-
this discussion was with Jim Heller,
yes, ma'am.
the police, he was the campus police chief?
Yes.
And you said he was going to talk to his boss? Who would that be, if you know?
He said, I don't know, probably Miss Glass. I don't know. I forgot, like I said, when I left there, I used to know everybody and they, I mean, I don't know anymore, but he said he was gonna look into it. He was gonna look into it and see if, you know, it could be done.
So he didn't promise you another job.
No,
And when you say create you another job, you're, would it be proper to say transfer you to another position that did work like checking locks and things like that? Or are you
no,
referring to the light duty?
no one spoke to me about transferring it to anything.
So what was the time, when you had this conversation with Chief Heller, were you talking about the light duty assignments that we just went through in 2016 and 2017 and 2018? Or were you talking about something after that time?
No, he was specifically speaking about doing what the position I was working in with the security, securing the building at night and the crosswalk. No
Was
other.
he talking, okay, was he talking about taking those light duty assignments and making them permanent? Is that what you're talking about?
He thought he didn't say that he would. He said he would check into it because it would be a good idea. So his officers can turn their attention to other things.
Okay, so he said he'd look into it.
Yes, he did.
Okay. Did you discuss working as a dispatcher with him at all?
Did not.
Did you apply for any of the dispatcher positions?
No, I did not.
Have you applied for any jobs with UW Parkside since April of 18?
No, I did not.
Did you ever have any discussions with Ms. Glass about other jobs you could do at UW Parkside?
No, I did not. She made it plain and clear. If I applied, that don't mean I'm gonna get it. So I was already frustrated, upset, had health conditions. They took my health insurance like 3 days later. I mean, I
So
was
when you,
emotionally distraught. I worked there, I worked for the state for 23 years. So at that point, I wasn't thinking about asking, you know, I just couldn't believe that they was firing me because of my disability.
so I want to clarify what we're talking about here. So it sounds to me like you're discussing the April dates with Ms. Glass, the April discussions on April 23 and April 25. Is that correct? So anytime earlier than that, did you have a conversation with Ms. Glass about other jobs that you could do at UW Parkside?
No, there was no reason to have a discussion with her because I had no idea they were getting ready to fire me. And she didn't tell me anything. She didn't discuss any other jobs with me.
So you didn't discuss the issues of being on light duty and not being able to drive the bus with Ms. Glass?
No, they just said the letter speaks for itself. No one comes.
I'm asking about before the letters.
Before the letters, I was told, do not come to work until I was called. No discussions in between with no one. No one. I was out of work for about 2 weeks.
Did you have any discussions with Ms. Glass about, any discussions at all with Ms. Glass in the calendar year 2017?
Only time I discussed or spoke with Ms. Glass is in November when she stated they was not going to create me a position. On the April when I was called in on that Monday to look over the restrictions.
All right, so I don't want to talk about April just yet because I want to take this in order. So let's go back to November. In November, Ms. Glass told you that they weren't going to create a new position for you. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. Did she talk about other jobs at UW Parkside that you might be able to do?
no,
Okay, you don't recall that conversation happening.
I recall that day very well.
Okay, so you recall it happening and to the best of your recollection, she didn't bring that up at all.
No,
Okay.
hold on. But she did, after she made her statement, she did say, with all these surgeries, you might not be able to be the same, that she showed a little concern after that, considering, the conditions that I was in. She said, you might not be ever the same again to drive, by the surgeries you have been, which she made a point, but I don't know, because you don't know, people heal differently. So at that point, I'm still healing. So she did make a considerate statement after I was told a position wouldn't be made for me.
So that was more than a year after your first surgery. Is that correct? The November meeting? Yeah. And you still hadn't healed fully from first and second hair surgery.
Right.
Okay. And so she, at that point, after a year of having two surgeries and you hadn't healed, is your testimony that she then said you may never heal again, or something along those lines?
She said by the surgeries, I might not never be the same. Just
never be the same.
Being real, you have injuries and you don't know how you're gonna recover. So she made the statement that, which was true. You don't know if you're gonna heal all the way or you might not. So, but at that point, I didn't know because I was still healing.
Well, and do you know what kind of point she was trying to make when she made that comment?
No, I thought she was sincere about that,
Okay, so she was expressing, you thought at the time she was expressing concern.
Yeah, at that time, yes.
Okay. But you clearly recall the conversation, and to your recollection, she didn't bring up trying to move to another position at UW Parkside. Okay. All right. So did you have any further conversations with Ms. Glass or with Ms. Heilgeist? Actually, let's just stick with one at a time. Do you have any further conversations with Ms. Glass between that November conversation in 2017 you just described and the April conversations in April 23 and 25?
No.
Okay, so the next conversation with Ms. Glass you had on April 23 of 2018, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to go back to the page that documents that conversation. And so the letter that was given to you in that conversation. So let's turn to ERD 104. It's page 1 of Respondents Exhibit 2.
I'm sorry, Respondents Exhibit 2?
Yeah, page 1 of Respondent Exhibits 2. And it's marked
Which
in
is
ERD 104.
okay.
And I'm just going to wait while everyone finds that document to have in front of them.
If people can't find it, I can put it on the screen, but.
And Tara, once you found it, let me know.
I have it.
Okay. All right. So in this letter, your testimony was that you received this letter on April 23 in that meeting with Ms. Glass. Is that correct?
I received this letter while meeting with Ms. Glass. I got this letter on a Monday.
Okay. So you got
with Ms. Glass, Chris Hauges, Jim Heller, and I can't think of the one that's over that benefit specialist.
okay. So that thank you. You took care of my next question for me.
So wait. So you got this letter at a meeting. It has your home address. You didn't receive it in the mail. You received this. It was handed to you at a meeting.
Right.
Okay.
It says Parkside.
What?
It says Parkside. They typed this up and gave it to me.
Parkside.
At the letterhead, Judge, Your Honor. I was given this at the meeting. It says Parkside. They've written this up and gave me this at the meeting on April 23rd.
Okay.
And this is the only document they provided you at that meeting, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. In that document, I want to go down to the third paragraph of text that begins with based on information received from physicians. So I just want you to take a second to read that paragraph for me, and then I'll ask you some questions about it when you're done.
Okay, I read it.
Okay. So did you have any discussions on April 23 about the information in that paragraph?
Yeah, Chris, this is what Chris, brought up in the meeting, the measurements that her and Bob, performed on the bus. This is what was discussed in the meeting.
Okay. And did they give you any? Did they give you any numbers for those measurements of how far the reach was?
On this letter, yes. When everybody else got it, I got it.
Okay.
And this is what we discussed on the Monday, that Monday.
So you discussed the measurements and this idea that you would be doing this reaching more than 600 times a day.
This is what they had written up and her and Bob came up with.
Okay. So they told you that this is what they thought would be the case with your job based on the research they had done.
This is their research and this is their assumption based on their information. And
Okay. So you're referring to this, the last two sentences where it says, based on your reach and our measurements, we found that pushing the button as well as turning the wheel requires you to reach greater than 15 inches more than 600 times a day. And based on this information, we are unable to accommodate the restrictions outlined by your doctor. So they discussed this with you, that specific line. They discussed that with you at the meeting.
That's what I stated.
Okay.
All right. And did you give any information counter to that, or did you provide any other information that might challenge their assumptions?
No, because I felt that at that time that it was so much that had happened, that I just felt that they was ready to fire me anyway, leading up to this. There's too much that happened that led up to this.
So at that time, you didn't contest the accuracy of these numbers. Okay. Did they actually fire you at this meeting?
No, not this one. This was Monday. They called me back in on Wednesday to fire me.
Did they ask you for any feedback or information at this meeting?
I'm the one that needed the information. I wasn't gonna have no insurance. I didn't have, like I told you, I was distraught. At this point, working 23 years, 2 jobs, my whole life had changed at that point. I couldn't believe it. No recommendations other than I could pay the Cobra insurance, which was $2,000 a month.
So hold on one second. Tara, did they talk about Cobra insurance on the 23rd or on the 25th?
23.
Okay. So on the 23rd, and I don't think I got an answer to this question yet, did they, all the folks you described at the meeting, which is Chris Heilgeist, Jim Heller, Sharonda Glass, and the benefits specialist, did they, at that meeting, ask for any feedback or any information from you?
Yeah, they probably did. I mean, we all was sitting there.
Okay.
I mean,
All right. Fair enough. So I think we've discussed the April 23 meeting. So I'd like to talk about the April 25th meeting now. And I believe that pointing everyone to Respondents Exhibit 3, which is just that one page, it's marked as ERD 111. So once again, Respondents Exhibit 3, there's just one page to the exhibit, and it's marked as ERD 111. And Tara, just let me know when you've got that in front of you.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. And so, was this letter given to you at a meeting on April 25th?
Yes,
Okay. And do you recall who was in the meeting on the 25th?
yes, the same ones that was in a meeting on the 23rd.
Okay.
So that
Um,
was, so those so who is there? It was Ms. Glass,
Chris, Jim, Keller, and Amy Costner.
and
Amy Chostner.
Costner,
How do you spell that?
CHOSTNER.
Okay. Chostner.
Chostner.
Chostner. Okay. And her position, I don't think this, we can stipulate. What is her position?
She
The
was the
benefits.
benefits specialist.
Okay.
and
So
I've
these were
seen
the
her name
same.
on emails, but today is the first day I realized there was an S in her last name.
Oh.
So I feel very embarrassed about that.
So these were the same people. They were at both meetings,
yes,
423 and 425.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
So do you recall what was discussed at the April 25th meeting?
Everything on this paper that, that I understand, my permanent restrictions, I remember that.
Okay. And I want to just take a peek take a moment to look at the second paragraph, the very first line. And this letter appears to be written by Sharonda Glass. And in that second line, she says, I met with both Vice Chancellor Mel Klinkner and Chancellor Ford. Do you recognize the name Mel Klinkner at all, Vice Chancellor Mel Klinkner?
Yeah,
Do you know where the police chief, if the police chief reports to him?
yes, he did.
Okay, so Vice Chancellor Klinkner was the police chief's supervisor.
As far as I know.
Okay, as far as you know, that's all I need. Excellent. Okay, we talked about that discussion. Oh, you know what? I just realized I forgot something else that I want to go back to, and then I think I've covered. Gonna double check. But I
All
think
right,
I've
it's
only
3 minutes to 2. So could you, Mr.
I
McClure?
still have a few more questions.
Yeah, no, but Mr. McClure, did your appointment is at 2 or 2:30? Refresh my recollection.
2:30.
2:30. Oh, I was
Yes.
thinking it was at 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, so I want to go back to Respondents Exhibit 2 with page 5. So it's marked on the bottom, it's ERD 108. So I apologize for going out of order here, and so I'll just wait for Tara to get back to that page.
I have,
Okay. Tara, I want to draw your attention to the word permanent there in that first sentence. Had you ever given UW Parkside a medical documentation that indicated you had permanent restrictions before you gave this to Parkside?
no, this is the first time ever.
Okay, so this is the first time you indicated to UW Parkside that you have a permanent restriction.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let me just look through my notes here, and then I can turn it back, hopefully back over shortly. One other thing I want to clarify, you said you testified earlier that you worked at Parkside from 1998 to 2018.
Yes,
Did you work that entire time in the campus safety office?
yes, I did.
Okay, and do you recall some of the, what the name was when in 2018 of the office?
Say that again?
Do you recall what the name of that office was that you worked in 2018?
The Police and Public Safety Department.
Thank you. It's got a different name at every campus, so I never know what it's going to be exactly. All right. I think those were the main things I need to cover. Yeah. All right. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Judge, or to Attorney McClure.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. McClure, do you have any redirect questions?
Tara, is there anything else that you need to clarify at this point? Because I don't think I have any specific questions I need to clarify, but I want to make sure that I give you an opportunity if there's something you thought you needed to say, but were politely not saying while you were being cross-examined. Is there anything else we need to clear up?
I just want to state that even through with these, the ERD 108 that Mr. Lynn just referred to, with the permanent restrictions, that the doctor yet stated I was able to work based on his documentations and ERD 111. I just want to state, I had a question on based on the nature of my job as a bus driver and the nature of the permanent.
Okay, page 111, now we're in respondents exhibit number 3, okay,
Yes.
yeah.
And the nature of the permanent restrictions identified by your restrictions, we are unable to provide you with accommodations. And I wanted to, know based on the nature of my job as a bus driver and my permanent restrictions, that's why I wasn't able to be accommodated for any other position after the doctor released me back to work. I just want to say that that I think this could have been handled better than this. After 23 years of service, that's a part of a big chunk of my life I gave to this university. People heal with disabilities. So,
And were you making the point that this was a return to work document by your doctor, not a can't do anything else ever document from the doctor?
absolutely,
That was your point.
that's my point.
That's my last question.
All right, any recross?
I don't think there's a need for recross at this point.
All right, let me go off the record for a minute. I'm going to turn off the recorder. I'm going to pause the recorder. All right, I've turned the recorder back on, and it is about 2:20 now, and we are going to call it a day right now. We did finish the testimony of Ms. Campbell. And our next step in this case would be to do the testimony of, to take the testimony of Sharonda Glass, but that doesn't make sense at this point. We're going to continue on a second day. I think I talked about that already on the record earlier, that Attorney McClure has two legal proceedings this afternoon, and we originally were going to reconvene at 4:20 after his second proceeding ended, but there's no need to do that now because we did finish the testimony of Ms. Campbell, and there then wouldn't be enough time to do the testimony of Ms. Glass. And then there's also another witness that the respondent wants to call as well, a rebuttal witness. So we are going to schedule a second day of hearing. I will be in contact with the attorneys, I guess probably via email, to try to come up with a date that would work for everybody for the second day of hearing. Also, when we were off the record, we had a discussion about settlement. I encouraged the parties to discuss settlement amongst themselves, and I provided some thoughts about, the direction those discussions could take. So I really do encourage the parties to consider various options for settling this case. And of course, if the parties do resolve this case or are very close to resolving the case, to let me know as soon as possible. But in any event, if the case doesn't settle, I will, as I said, schedule a second day of hearing, and at that second day, we will complete the testimony in this matter. So I think that's it for now. And the parties have indicated to me that there's nothing else that they need to state on the record at this time. So at this time, we will conclude the first day of hearing, and I will be in contact with the parties as we go forward, and probably at that second day of hearing if the parties don't settle. So that's it for now. I'm going to stop the recording.